Welcome to the Yogi Show. My name is Yogi Brian. I'm a co-host here with Pedro Luna, and we have Henry Winslow on the podcast today. Henry is a 9-year yoga practitioner in Ashtanga and Dharma yoga traditions. He is the International Yoga Sports Federation World Champion of Yoga. Can you believe that? He's the host of Dharma Talks. We have a great show today. We just really connect with Henry, laugh. It's a good time. Definitely listen. Let's get to the show.
Welcome to the show, Henry Winslow. Good morning. How the hell are you doing, brother? Thank you for being here.
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. Before we turn on the recording, I was telling you guys I'm in the deepest crux of my move out of New York. There's nothing in my apartment but a bunch of stray boxes, some of which are going to go to the donation place, and some of them are probably going to end up out on the street, which is New York's way of donating. And maybe some of them will go in the car. Who knows?
Maybe they enter the car, possibly, you know? Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Dude, this is so cool. This is a Yogi Show 3.0 where we're doing we're doing video, we're doing audio. And Henry, you've been an inspiration in like this podcast. Like I remember when I came on Dharma Talk Podcast, I came on your show and I was like, I want to do a podcast. I was like, I don't know how to do that shit. So forget it. And then, here we are like a year or so later, whatever it is. And here we are.
And it's not that hard.
No, as long as the technology works, it is really not that hard. Like it really isn't, but it's the technology, man. So we're trying this out, but it's good, man. It's good man. Thank you for being here. It's fun. I can see you guys. This is cool.
This is cool.
Awesome. So, but if you're listening on the audio, you're not seeing anything. You're just hearing us ramble.
But you can imagine.
Yeah,
you
close
can
your
use
eyes,
imagination.
So when we reached out to Henry to be on the show, it was like it was a no-brainer. Like Henry has the Dharma Talk podcast. You have a brand new Henry Yoga app. You've been killing it on the gram for a long time. We connected over Instagram, and it was super cool, the unique connection that we made. And I wanted to kick the show off with a question, kind of flipping the script on you, because I know you always start your show with the same question about Dharma and like, what does that mean to the person? So we're going to ask you, Henry, what is your Dharma?
Oh.
What is your Dharma? And how are you bringing that out into the world in these days? What does that mean to you?
The tables have turned. Here we go. Okay. Well, the cool thing about asking that question time and time again, sometimes, multiple times a week, is that other people's answers have influenced my understanding of the term and how to bring it into my life. And to me, Dharma is, I think of it in two ways. I think of it, one, there's like a universal understanding of Dharma, and that we're all connected with one main purpose. You could call that a Maha Dharma, maybe, if you wanted to make it Sanskrit or something.
Right. Right.
which we tend to do. And I think that one purpose that everyone has is to connect to where we came from, to connect to source, to connect to God. And we do that through our own unique individual paths, our own unique individual evolutions. And that's where the individuality comes in. My personal evolution, or my personal Dharma, I think is my life story. And I think that's true for everyone. It's not so simple as like, oh, I'm a yoga teacher, or, oh, I'm a podcast host. It's really the sum total of everything that you've done. And it's non-destination oriented. It's more, what lessons have you learned along the way? Because the more experiences you put under your belt, the older you get, the wiser you get, you see that everything that has led up to this moment was critical. So I don't see that, I used to talk about like, oh, being aligned with your Dharma, or being misaligned to your Dharma. And now I just see that it's a part of the process. Like even when I was working in pharmaceutical advertising, which I like so vehemently disagree with, like it's so counter to my nature and what I believe in, it was critical. It was part of my path, and it was a critical step that had to be crossed in order to get to where I am now. So even that was my Dharma.
Yeah, for sure. And Brian, I know Brian, my Dharma I feel like has changed, like not changed, but it's like you're saying, every step along the way. Like I was a debt collector, I was for 9 years, I called people to pay bills over the phone. Like now I look back on that, like that was part of my Dharma. That was part of the path and the experience, like that got me to here. And I'm using whatever skills and things along the way that I've learned to nurture this moment. But I can never imagine like doing some shit like that again, though.
Gosh, right?
Like no way. Brian, imagine having to go to the driving range every day again and be a professional golfer.
Dude, I was thinking about the same thing, Henry, when you were saying that, like how, your past is your Dharma as well. Like I used to play competitive golf. Okay. And like that was my life, like playing competitive golf, and how playing competitive golf relates to my yoga practice now. It really, I didn't realize, but when I did play competitive golf, I was very mindful, because when you get to a level at competitive golf, everyone is the same in terms of their physical swing. I mean, they're hitting the ball the same. They're hitting it really good. And it's really coming down to like who can think better out on the course, like who has the better mind, because golf is so much mental. And one of the things that really helped me is I read, it's called Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. And like the main premise of that book was staying in the present and committing to the process. So you stay in the present and commit to the process every golf shot. And I would have to tell myself over and over again, it's like, okay, I'm on this one golf shot. Like, what do I have to do to make this one golf shot as good as I can? I can't remember the past shot. I can't think of the future shot, because, I'm going to screw this shot up. So it's like, stay in the present, commit to the process. And that has helped in my yoga practice now. It's like when I'm meditating, I come back to that, stay in the freaking present, commit to the process of what I'm doing, and boom. Like, so yeah, your Dharma does evolve. Like it really does. Like everything's yoga.
Yeah. Everything, bro.
I'm sure that if you went back and golf now, like it's not just that the golfing helps your meditation. I'm sure the meditation would translate right back into golf.
Oh yeah, 100%. I wish I knew yoga back then, because I had a pretty bad temper on the course. Like really, like I was the guy that was like throwing clubs and breaking clubs, and I had that reputation. Like it did happen quite a bit, more than normal. So if I had that yoga practice, I probably would be a pro golfer now. So
you might be on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, maybe senior tour.
Yoga.
Or at the very least, you just be extremely present for cracking someone in the head with your 9-iron.
Exactly. Oh,
that's amazing, man. That's amazing. And all of this is like, an evolutionary process of just like growth from inception, And Henry, how long have you been teaching yoga for? How long have you been teaching for? Or practicing and teaching? Okay,
I started practicing in 2010, and I didn't start teaching until 2016.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I thought you had been teaching longer, and that doesn't, like, for whatever reason.
No, I resisted teaching for quite a long time.
Yeah. Before you started practicing, so in 2010, what was life like? Like, what was life like for you, Henry, before 2010? Without like yoga and such. And then how is that, like, how did you find yoga? Like, or did yoga find you? How did that happen?
Yeah. I was an athlete growing up, and the sport, I did a few different sports, but the one that like was very important to me and had the longest staying power in my life was springboard diving. And just like Brian was saying, I really tapped into some of the meditative and yogic aspects of that sport naturally without having a language for it or knowing that it was connected to yoga. But, when you were even talking about like, I can't think about the shot before, or I can't think about the shot after, I can't anticipate or lament. That was such an important part of competitive diving, because what happens is like you have a list of 6 dives that you have to show up and do individually. And it's not the sort of sport where you're reacting to other things going on in theory. And yet, if you blow your first dive, how do you get past that? Because, if that spoils your mind, then it's going to carry over into every single dive. But if you can totally be present for that and say, okay, well, that dive is over, I'm on the next one, then you can totally turn things around, especially with a longer list. 6 dives, one is pretty significant. But if it's like a competition of 12 dives, then one can, there's room for that. So I was a diver. That was my introduction to yoga. Was one summer when I was living in New York, doing an internship in between junior and senior year of college. I didn't have access to the diving boards or a coach or a pool. So I got in touch with one of my friends who was a teammate of mine, and he said, "You should try yoga. you're going to really love yoga because first of all, it's a good training tool for your diving. You can go back to the boards next year and you'll still be flexible, strong. And I think he was on to some of the other kind of like mental aspects that were similar as well.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, you got to do yoga. Come with me. And I was like, okay, sweet. Let's do it. I wasn't resistant to that at all. It seemed cool. And I went into, I think it was New York Sports Club for my first class, which is a gym. We took the class and he was like, yo, check this out. And we were in there doing our vinyasa class. It was like warrior 2, just like really basic kind of stuff. And I don't know how to describe it other than this is what I always tell people. It just felt familiar, even though I never done it before. It's like, I'm into this. Like, it feels good in my body. And we weren't doing anything crazy. And I had been used to doing tricks, so yeah, people who know me from the internet see my practice and they think like, oh, he must have been a gymnast or a dancer. And the truth is I was a diver and was attracted to doing phenomenal kind of tricks. But when I first practiced yoga, it wasn't about that at all. And I was just like, this feels good. Something about embodying these like really basic shapes and breathing. I had to have some more of that.
Yeah, it just makes me feel good. When I didn't know you were a diver, but now it all makes sense that all this. Like, I was in wondering, like, was he always like strong and flexible? Like was that always a thing? And when I saw you on an Instagram post, I was like looking at your page the other day, and you dove off some cliffs and like you just jumped off, and then all of a sudden like you did a dive, and there was a lady in the foreground like, oh my god, this guy's gonna die! Like this guy's gonna die. You did like a front flip and do a dive, and I was nervous. I was like sitting at home like, oh shit, Henry, don't do that, man, don't do that. Then you did, and I was like, and I didn't know you were a diver literally until right now, so it all makes sense.
I was Pedro. I was hoping that when you said that the lady was gonna like hold up a 10 or something, I would have loved that. Just random like 10.
Yeah. 10.
Yeah. That was in Puerto Rico. I just came back from Puerto Rico and we were in El Yunque, the rainforest there, and took a little tour. Amazing. It was amazing. Yeah, but when I saw that cliff and he was like, you can jump off this cliff, I was like, I'm going straight for the high one.
No joke, man. No joke. That's
like,
amazing.
I'm taking the high one and no splash. Watch this. Yeah. No splash.
Yeah. Boom.
Hey, you want to know something funny about that though? Is when I was a diver, I actually never competed on the tower. So there's like 1 meter springboard, 3 meter springboard, which is what most people think of as the high dive. It still bounces. And then if you like watch the Olympics, people are doing the 10 meter platform. There's also a 5. The cement slab. There's also a 5 and a 7.5 meter. I never competed on those because I just wasn't exposed to it until college. And at college it was like, this is terrifying. And I was so scared. I never got over the fear. I was actually afraid of the 3 meter all through my time diving. But when I went up there and in Puerto Rico and saw that opportunity to cliff dive up there, I think it was, I have to attribute it to yoga, because I got up there and I was like, I could be scared of this, but let me just like take a look around. And I stood there for a second and I went, and like the fear melted away. I was like, I'm doing this. This is going to be amazing.
Dude.
And I was so present for it. Everything slowed down. I was like, okay, now I understand how people were able to do tower.
Yeah. Get up there. Right. How many meters do you think that cliff was?
I think it was between 7.5 and 10. It was close to the 10 meter.
Yeah. It was high. It was super high. It was super high. That's so cool that you were able to do that, and like using yoga and your breath to ground you. And that goes, we did a little clip last night. Brian and I were just playing around the Zoom playing, and we're talking about overcoming adversity and like being in the moment. And the first step, like the 5 steps we did for that, was number 1 was take a deep breath. Literally take a deep breath and then like ground and then like, move on, overcome. And that was like synchronicity right there. Henry's sharing that. So
totally.
Thank you, man.
I can't think of a single more powerful or more efficient thing you can do to get grounded in the present than take a deep breath.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No doubt.
And from so many people that I talk to that do yoga, teach yoga, that's like the one common thing is like my breath. Like I have a tool I can use my breath, like good times, bad times. I can always come to my breath, like, and it's going to get me through it. You know, like a 4 count in, 4 count out, like we talked about on the first episode. Pedro's talking about that 4 count in, 4 count out. There's just so many different ways to manage your breath. And it's like, yeah, the poses look great. You know, the practice feels good, but like when it comes down to those rough times, breathing.
Yeah.
Numero uno.
Honestly, I mean, I think of the poses, they're really just there to put your body into a different form of stress and see if you can continue breathing.
Oh, I love that perspective on that, Henry. Dude, that's amazing.
Awesome.
How about
and there's a little bit more to it than that. I mean, you're also like putting your body in a position where the breath can move in a different direction, where the energy behind the breath can move in a different direction. But ultimately, 100%. The breath is the reason for doing it. Yeah, no doubt. I want to ask you about the international the yoga competition, and because I know you are a former champion. And congratulations. Yeah. That's so cool. Thanks. The USA Yoga Championship really inspired my yoga journey. So I wanted to hear, like Joe from the jump, and I'll share that in a minute, but I want to hear about like, what are your thoughts now? Obviously you're a competitive diver. You were obviously an athlete sports. You know, what are your thoughts on like yoga as a sport? And what was it like being a champion and competing and that kind of thing? Because obviously the breath in the moment, like you're rising to the occasion, to do that. Yeah. Yeah. I totally get it when people say, what, yoga competition? That's ridiculous. Yoga is not a competition. Why would you turn it into a sport? And that's a pretty natural reaction. Most people, when they hear about that, they're either just like, they laugh it off, or they actually like get triggered in a way like that's offensive to me. Like you're like violating the thing that's so important to me. And I respect that. Bro. Yeah. Karen's pissed.
They're like, I don't even do yoga, but I'm offended. Championship. I've never done yoga once, but I'm mad at you.
Yeah. But on the one hand, I get it, because they're right. Yoga is not competitive. But the first thing I'll say about that is, and Pedro, did you do a competition?
I did not. I never did one. I just witnessed them. Yeah, I never did.
Okay. One thing that every person I've spoken to in the competitions or who has done them in the past agrees on is that it doesn't feel like there's no animosity between competitors. Everyone honestly hopes for everyone else to do well. So in that sense, it feels more like a group demonstration than a true competition. Mm-hmm. That being said, someone is awarded a prize, so it's competitive, I guess.
Right.
But deeper than the competition between yogis on stage, everyone is competing with themselves. Everyone's trying to overcome their mind and their body and get tapped into present spirit. And for that reason, it was really valuable to me in my practice. I competed for several years. And the reason I kept coming back to it is I never felt like I really won that competition against myself. I felt like my ego and my mind kept beating me. And I was like, okay, well, I got to come back until I can triumph here. And it seems like kind of obvious now looking back on it. And in a way, I kind of knew it all along, but it's easier said than done. I needed to relax. I was putting so much pressure on myself to go on stage and perform and like do the best job that I was no longer able to be in the flow of my practice. I was no longer able to be present. I kept on trying to like do my best when really I should have just been doing the normal thing. Mm-hmm. So the year that I finally won it in 2018, last year, the people who were there at Beijing, at the internationals, were actually kind of like, there were a few people who were shocked that I was even on stage, because in the green room beforehand, I was lying there on the floor sleeping. Everybody else was running drills. They were like drilling their routine and going through all their postures and having people look at them and give them tips. I was like, I've done that too many years, like beating myself up, trying to make sure everything is ready when I've already done all the work. My practice, I've been practicing, and there's nothing else that's going to happen at this point. So I just need to chill. And so after I won, this woman came up to me. She was like, "What?" She was like, "What? I didn't even know. I saw you back in the green room. I didn't even think you were competing." I was like, "How did this guy get back here?"
Yeah, who is this guy? Get him out, security.
Security, get him out.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I mean, when I got up on stage that time, suddenly it was like there were no more nerves. Up until then, it had always been like, why are my knees buckling? Like, why is my breath sharp? This is not what it's like for me to practice. But then when I chilled out and actually somehow managed to take the pressure off myself, I got up on stage and it felt like normal.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And that's something that reminded me, like when I used to play competitive golf, is like I used to practice so much, and then I used to be like so intense when I went out to go play the golf round. Like I used to be intense, and like it either went like super bad or super good. Like there was no like middle.
Yeah.
And I remember my aunt told me like one of the best advice. She's like, "Hey, Brian, you've been practicing. You practice so much. Your body knows what to do. Your body knows what to do. So just go out there and let your body do what it knows to do. Like just let go." So I did that, and then I really I started really playing good throughout my junior golf career. And that just reminded me like how you're sleeping, like you've already done the practice, you've already done the preparation. Like now's the time to just surrender, go with the flow. Like your body knows what to do, and you're relaxed and you won.
Yeah, totally.
So cool.
I think in that way, your body is actually closer. We think of like body being the grossest, then the mind being like more subtle, and then spirit being underneath that. But in that sense, mind is actually grosser. It's actually like more removed from the truth than your body.
100%. I love that. I love that. And everybody out there listening too, like if you're going to teach your class for the first time, or, whatever you're doing that's going to bring up nerves that you've been really working on, like you've done the practice, you've done the preparation, like surrender to what your body knows. Hey, this is Yogi Brian. Welcome to the mid-episode trivia. And this episode is sponsored by Bulldog Yoga. If you go to theyogishow.com, there's a button. You click on that button that says Bulldog Yoga. It gets you 30 days free trial. So if you want to do yoga online, you want a 30-day free trial to check it out, Bulldog Yoga, go to theyogishow.com. Let's get to the trivia question. It is dinosaur related. If you follow me on social media, you know I love dinosaurs. You know I love space. You know I love tacos. I love a lot of great things like tacos, dinosaurs, yoga. Yes, here is the trivia question. And it is, here you go. What dinosaur name means fast thief? So what dinosaur name means fast thief? Write down your answer. We're going to give it to you at the end of this episode. So stay tuned. Check out theyogishow.com too for some free yoga, Bulldog Yoga. Yes. Gratitude. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah. And just go with the flow, go with the flow. Absolutely. I love just being in the flow state, knowing that you've already put it, I always say that quote, Brian, like bringing your hard hat and your lunch pail, you already did all that. You just brought it to the table, and now just, go out there and do your thing. I love sharing that. Yeah. And when you said, Henry, about the community, right? So when you were doing the yoga competition, it was really about community and bringing together all these like-minded people who were looking to just share their practice on a stage. And it raises, I remember being in the room. So here's my story. So I had never practiced, I practiced yoga like twice. Yeah. And so I went to the yoga competition, and I remember sitting next to the studio owner I was going to be practicing at her studio that I didn't even know yet. And sitting there and watching all these competitors come out and do their thing, and seeing all the routines and the practice that went into it on the front end. And I was like, wow, like this is like a thing. Like all these people are in this together. And it was really inspiring. Like it was really inspiring as someone who hadn't hit the mat yet. And that was the day, literally, that was the day I can remember seeing the voucher in my hand. I had a picture of it. It was August 13th, 2011. And I said, I'm going to go to yoga tomorrow and Sunday at 10 a.m. And I'm going to make this commitment to health and well-being because I can see this community of people and I want to be a part of it. And then boom, that was it, man. That was it. And I was in. Like I was in the door. That was what got me in the door. So thank you for showing up, Henry, because like you were part of that, man. Like, you know what I mean? Well,
that's actually Rajashree Chowdhury.
She was there. She was there.
That was her whole intention for creating USA Yoga. It was because she had done the competitions in India growing up and thought that given the American attitude, which like really celebrates competition and gets people enthusiastic about something, introducing yoga competitions would be the way to inspire more people to practice yoga, especially the youth. That was her whole mission statement behind it.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, it totally worked. I didn't know that. Very cool. And obviously, like in the competition, you get a routine, right? It's a 3-minute routine that you're doing, and you worked on it and you made it happen and you won. But now in your daily life, obviously that was a lot like regimented. I'm assuming leading up to the competitions and such, you were doing the same similar things and postures and routines and such. Do you have a routine nowadays to like get you going? That get like a morning routine or like a practice on and off the mat that you're doing? These days, like what is it like for you these days? Yeah, like what is it like?
Well, first of all, let me just say that because this is another question people ask me about the competitions, and for those who are interested in doing the competitions, this is my advice for training. Don't get into a hit the 3-minute routine over and over again practice. I don't think it's helpful. And I think actually it can cause harm, especially if you're doing one side over and over again. I experimented with that and it was not good for me. What worked for me was just continuing to do my practice, act like the competition is not even happening. Because I have a rigorous practice every day anyway. So, it's not like I'm neglecting my practice if I'm not training for the competition.
Yeah, no doubt. So, okay, I've seen your Instagram photos and your videos, man. Like your practice is ridiculous. Goals AF. Brian, have you seen them, Brian? Goals AF?
Yeah, I see them and I'm like, I wish I'd studied geometry like more because these fucking angles are just like wow. I'm like, I know that's really good in geometry, but I wish I knew more.
It's all math.
It's all math. Like, yeah. Your practice makes me want to do more math. I don't know what that means, but it's amazing.
My brother would be happy about that. He's a math teacher.
It's so good, Henry. Like, your practice is beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
The original question was about routine though. So let me get back to that. Cool. I do have a morning routine. I'm a big believer in morning routines.
Yes.
Especially if you are like I'm going to be very soon, which is traveling around quite a lot, not really having a home base to ground you in day-to-day consistency. Practice can be that. Practice can be your roots. So my morning routine, as of late, as I've started doing the Wim Hof method. You familiar with him?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you guys already know. Wim Hof is so good.
So good.
I always try to have like one type of meditation that I do every day, and at the moment, I'm all in on the Wim Hof breathing, which is a pretty simple breathing technique. You can look it up, and there are like free videos of it online. But basically, the whole premise behind it is you take in more oxygen than you breathe out. So you put your blood in an alkaline state. It's like hyperoxidized. And then you practice breath retentions. You practice the Bahir Kumbhaka. So the breath retention after you exhale. And after a few rounds of that, you're holding your breath for like 3 minutes and it's insane. And you have like trippy visions and you just feel amazing. So I do that. And I also do the cold showers. I think it feels really good. I just took one before we got on.
Awesome.
Ooh, energized. I did my first cold shower. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? 2 days ago, I did my first cold shower. It was fucking terrible. But you know what? I lived. And I remember when Brian told me about the first time he got in his ice bath that he made. It was the worst thing ever. But like you feel different. Like I felt different for sure. So
yeah. It makes your skin feel really good. Kundalini yoga talks about cold showers also. So whenever multiple people from different schools of thought and lineages like land on the same conclusion, it always like gives me confidence in it. I'm like, okay, that's closer to truth.
Yeah. I personally, Kundalini yoga is one of my favorite types of yoga. That's really how I started getting into it before I really started getting serious. But, and that's a lot of breath retention. It's a lot of like, breath of fire and just really breathing, holding your breath, applying root locks. And when I learned about Wim Hof, I was at a Dr. Joe Dispenza event and I was just there by myself and they did lunch and I was eating lunch and it's a big cafeteria and I just went and sat by myself. I'm an introvert. So I'm like, please no one sit by me. Then some guy like sat right across from me and there was like nobody else at the table. Like, great. This always happens to me. And then I'm just eating. I'm like, and then he just asked me questions, and I'm like, oh, do you do yoga? Like I teach yoga, and he goes, no, I do Wim Hof, and I've never heard of Wim Hof. I'm like, okay, what is this? And then he's asking me if there's any like cold streams in the area, like he's gonna jump in the stream and then do all this breathing. I'm like, okay, I need to read up about this. Like it's probably some shit I really would love. So I looked into it, and I was like, cold showers. I'm like, I'm opting out. Like I checked the box, I'm opting out. I live in Phoenix, and it's just hot here all the time. When it gets below 50 degrees, like I'm freezing. Like I'm wearing a parka and everything. But I started like about a month and a half ago. I'm like, I'm just going to do this because I heard about cold showers in just a lot of different places. Jim Quick, Quick Brain, Wim Hof, like Tony Robbins, and like how great the cold showers are. And then I tried Wim Hof breathing. But anyways, about a month ago, I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to take cold showers and just see how it goes. And it's really helped my mental strength. Like, I don't know what else it's doing in my body, but like I am more mentally tough because like I'm getting in that out of my comfort zone. And I've been doing one thing where I count from 5 down, and I'm like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, jump in. I forgot her name. Well,
Mel Robbins.
I've heard of that.
Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins. She's like, count down from 5, whatever you're going to do, and just fucking do it. And that's helped me out so much. Like cold showers, I'm like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom.
That's it, man.
But awesome stuff.
That's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is good. I've still been able to, well, I don't know how to say this. That has not worked for me with snoozing in the bed. I still struggle with that one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It works for everything except for snooze.
do you have your alarm clock like right by your bed?
Yeah, that's the problem. Probably.
Right there. Yeah.
Hey, but not anymore, Henry. You're leaving tomorrow. Yeah. So there's not going to be an alarm clock by your bed anymore tomorrow. Right?
Yeah, I know.
So tomorrow you're on the road, and I want to know what that is. So I mean, obviously you've packed up your place, you've sold all the stuff, ready to donate, ready to get in the car, hit the road with Veronica, your wife. What's the plan? Where are you going? What are you doing?
Well, we just came back from Puerto Rico, which was kind of like the first stop on our trip, but now we're here, closure in New York, formally vacating the apartment. Our first stop after this is going to be Virginia. My parents live there, so we'll be there for like an early Thanksgiving celebration, and I'm teaching at a local studio there. After that, we're going to continue our road trip to Texas. We'll get that far. We're eventually going all the way across country, but we're going to get as far as Texas to park, and then fly to Bali because Veronica and I are giving a yoga retreat in Bali.
Congratulations. So have you done that before, Bali? Have you done Bali?
No, this is going to be our first time in Bali. So
great. Congratulations.
Yeah, stoked.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Don't try to record any podcasts while you're there, bro. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, I know. I've been on the other side of that, so it doesn't work. But I think we'll be fully focused on teaching and soaking it all in anyway. So it's probably for the best. Then after Bali, we fly back to Texas, continue our road trip to California, and then spend Christmas there with Veronica's family. In January, we're going to Europe and going to do a studio tour one weekend after another for 4 weekends.
Nice.
Then come back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. We got a lot planned. As of February, I've got like a couple studios that I have, on the calendar for February and March, but apart from that, like not really anything planned. So we're open. I don't know when we're going to settle in at another place, if we'll continue traveling or maybe find a place to live in Southern California.
Wow. That sounds amazing, man. Right? Like you're following your bliss, allowing yourself just to like be open to whatever like the universe kind of serves up, like not being held down by anything in this moment. So really powerful, there's a lot of, as a yoga teacher, like my story is somewhat similar to that. Like, just like I'm ready to go on travel and do my thing. And I think there's a lot of them like that. And I know that obviously you have the Dharma Talk podcast. We interviewed Dylan on our show, Dylan Werner. And I know your latest episode was with Dylan Werner. So what an amazing synchronicity that you were able to interview Dylan, who's like been vagabonding, living in nowhere, for years. And then now that's what you're doing, man. Like that's what you're kind of going to be doing for a bit.
Yeah. And he's been very successful with that. I mean,
Super.
very, very inspiring from like a career standpoint for sure. And his practice is amazing also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yours is also amazing, my friend. You guys are both of you guys. Like, have you ever met Dylan? Have you ever met him?
No, that was my first time talking to him actually for the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like if you guys were like in a yoga competition or a duel, I don't know, just like a pose off, something fun. Like, it would just be like, dude, I would just sit back with like a pop, get your popcorn ready because this is going to be a show. This is going to be a show, man. You guys are just inspiring. And I know you have your app. So please tell us about the Henry Yoga app. Congratulations on the app. We know that's no joke, making those things. The content that you've created for that is amazing. Please let us know about your app.
Yeah. The Henry Yoga app is I have a business partner who was one of my students originally. He popped into class at Lighthouse, and actually I was taking class at the time, and he plopped down next to me, and he introduced himself afterward, and we started talking, and it became very clear that not only were we like, we have a lot of the same tendencies, personality, kind of synchronicities that we would get along, but we had a similar vision, which was that yoga is the answer for so many people who, for whatever reason, have a resistance to it or haven't been exposed to it. And we wanted to use technology to make it widely available. And not just yoga, but a specific type of yoga, the kind of yoga that I practice. Because as you know, there are so many different directions you can take it. And just like there are many different students and many different teachers, and people will resonate with different people, we think that, the type of yoga that I'm teaching will resonate with a large group of people who otherwise are not really attracted to the practice. And technology can be seen as a foe of spirituality in so many circles, and they have points. Like, it can get in the way. It can be a distraction from presence, but when used correctly, it can also be leveraged to share a purpose, to share a mission. And that's what we're doing. We're taking advantage of the modern technology that we have to make a specific practice of yoga widely accessible. The way that it works is a 40-day program. So it's not a subscription. You pay for it once, and then you have unlimited access to these 40 classes. Every one is 40 minutes. So it's meant to be long enough to get a complete practice, but not so long that it's intimidating for people who have a busy life. And after the whole thing is finished, when you complete it, our goal is always that you're going to have a practice, something that's grounding, a routine that you can come back to. And you can continue to use the app, or you can not. You can drive your own practice.
Sure. That's amazing, dude. The content is beautiful. I know that took a lot of time to make. There's no doubt, time and energy to make that go. Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And we'll make sure to link everything here in the show notes on theyogishow.com, where you can check out Henry and his app, and maybe about your schedule and kind of what you're doing around the globe, because you're inspiring, man. The podcast that you're doing, all the things that you're doing are inspiring. So just thank you for showing up, man. Like, thank you for showing up.
Thank you. And I'll say one more thing about the app. That's that.
Please do.
If you want to try it out, you can take 2 classes of it, 2 of the 40 classes for free. And it's not like you put in your credit card and then if you forget, we charge you. It's like, no, you just can get them for free. So go to henryyoga.com if you want to check it out.
Dope, man. That's amazing, dude.
And anybody that's listening, if you say that you're not flexible enough to do yoga, you need to cut that shit out right now. Because everybody can do yoga.
Literally, man.
If you're thinking that in your car, you're like, I'm not flexible enough to do yoga. Cut that shit out right now.
Yeah. Okay. And if you have somebody in your life that says that shit to them, just like send that clip of Yogi Brian to them. Like, just audio record that and send it over.
Cut that shit out.
Cut it out, man. Cut it out. All right, man. So before we wrap it up, we always want to talk. We always end our shows, or oftentimes we end our shows with the lighten up round. It's super fun. Just a couple. Could you do the Dharma round? What's it called? What do you do on your show?
I call it the Prana round.
The Prana round. Round. Yeah. It's super fun. Just like a little lightning round. So we do the lighten up round here on this show, which was inspired by the Prana round, which was inspired by the Prana Round. You definitely need to check out Henry's podcast. And we're going to, like, I don't know when this is going to come out and when yours is coming out. So, but we are going to be on Henry's show as well. So we're doing this like nice podcast flip. And we'll, people already know about that because I'm going to plug it in the intro. But just wanted to know that like super cool that we're able to do this thing where, you know, you have a show, we have a show, and like let's collab and like swap questions.
We can host one another.
Yeah,
right,
you know, like how cool is that, man? Like, and like how amazing is that? So, in the lighten up round, not so serious, a couple fun questions, and Yogi Brian, hit it with number one because it was your question and inspired my day yesterday, man.
Yeah. So we Pedro was on a writer's block, and he didn't know what to write for this thing that we were doing, and I was like, one word, write one word. Just one word, like you don't have to write anything else, just one word. I was like, what about Dharma? And then I was like, what about Tyrannosaurus Rex? Like, what is T-Rex's Dharma? Is
that the question?
That's the question. What is T-Rex's Dharma?
T-Rex's Dharma is to be the king. He's the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Rex is the king. So his Dharma is to preside over all of the other dinosaurs and be the rock when the asteroid comes down and the whole world is over. How can he stay calm and inspire the rest to go into Mahasamadhi with presence and calm?
Dude, that is an amazing answer. That's the best answer we've ever gotten on any question on this show.
Seriously. I was there. I pictured T-Rex like running out of like one of those like explosions or whatnot with his like little arms.
Pumping.
Yeah. Straight pumping, man.
Yeah.
Man. Henry, who would relax in Savasana at the end of your class longer? Who can relax longer, a squirrel or a monkey?
Oh, I'd say a monkey, because I feel very connected to monkeys. So if the practice works for me, it would probably work for a monkey. And I always take a deep Shavasana.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I'm in the cosmos, man. Don't wake me up. Like when they come sit up, namaste, like leave me alone on the floor over there. I'm good.
Yeah. I go straight through that a lot of the times.
Yeah.
I miss it completely.
Yeah. Same. 100%. Same. Brian, are you the guy that's passed out on the floor? Or are you the guy that sits up and does?
I am passed out. The last Shavasana, like I was really deep in, I had one of those, you know, when you have like the nerve, like a nerve hits and you're just like, your arms and legs fly around. I had one of those and it was really intense. And my leg lifted up. I'm like,
smack the guy next to you.
Yeah, right.
The guy had already left because it was like 10 minutes later after the class, probably.
Yeah, it was the yoga teacher mopping my foot.
I probably hit him with one more lighten up question.
All right, I need a diving question. So, what would be if you were in the Olympics and you just said, "Fuck it, like this is my last dive. I don't give a shit about the gold medal. I'm gonna bust out an awesome yoga asana right before my dive." Other than Tadasana, like we know you're like at the edge of the diving board. No Tadasana. Which asana would you do on that diving board? Everybody's watching you before you jump in.
Last dive ever.
I think. Well, first, let me say this. I was talking to Veronica after we came back from the rainforest, and I was like, "Oh, you know what I should have done is this thing that I used to do messing around when I was a diver." That they called it the flying squirrel. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but it's like you jump off the diving board or whatever you're jumping off of, you grab your shins or your ankles and then you kick back and you basically do Dhanurasana.
Oh,
and then you dive after that. So you like let go of your feet and dive in. And I put two and two together because the last time I did that, I didn't know Dhanurasana. I didn't know bow pose. It's like, I should have done that. That would have been sick. So that would be my last dive. Yeah, I would do the flying squirrel.
Dude.
But the original question is, what would I do? Like pre-dive to just like be epic, be a badass, and that would be handstand scorpion. Got to be handstand scorpion.
I could see that.
Yes.
I could see that.
Yes. Was that one of your two competition poses, handstand scorpion,
yes.
when you won the championship? What was the other one? Your optional one?
The other optional was Om Karasana.
Oh, yeah.
That's like leg behind the head, and then you weave the other leg around through the arms.
Yeah, that's so cool. My friend Adrian, he does that one a lot. I don't know. He's in like the DC area. You might be,
Adrian Hummel.
Yeah. He went. I went to
him.
teacher training. I went to teacher training with him, and he would do that pose. And I was like, bro, what the fuck even is that, man? And it was so cool to watch. But I was like, yo, like I'm good, So,
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Like I'm just trying to do standing up to knee and not like pull a hammy over here. Well, this has been amazing, Henry. Thank you for taking the time, man, out of your schedule when you are literally packing up to leave like everything in New York City on your journey the day before you leave. Thank you for taking the time to be on our show, man. Yogi Brian.
Hey, well, it was a nice little bit of comic relief, lightness in the middle of this stressful time. So I appreciate you inviting me on. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Yogi Brian. Deuces, brother. This has been fun,
Deuces,
man.
yeah. Thank you
Yogi
so much,
Show
Henry.
3.0. First time being on here, man. So
3.0
cool.
video.
So,
we got video now. Awesome.
Video. So if you listen to this episode on audio, but you want to see us and all the mannerisms and the craziness, like you can hit it up on YouTube for sure. And it'll be over there. We'll plug it all in the show notes so you can check it out. So
Excellent.
With that being said, signing off. Namaste, brothers. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you so much for listening to the Yogi Show podcast. Visit theyogishow.com. We provide you all the show notes there. Thank you, DJ Taz Rashid, for the music on the Yogi Show today. Let's get you the answer to the trivia question. And the answer is Velociraptor. Velociraptor is the dinosaur that's name means fast thief. The dinosaur name means fast thief is Velociraptor. Which the Velociraptor lived in the Cretaceous period about 85 million years ago. Just a quick fact for your brain. 85 million years ago, Velociraptor was living. And I'm glad I wasn't living when the Velociraptor was living at that time because I am not a fast person and I probably would have been eaten. But anyways, thank you so much for listening to the show. Share it with your friends. Tell your family. Tell everybody about the show. Leave us a review if you can. If you're still listening right now, stop it. Go leave us a review and message us. Let us know. And maybe you'll get a sticker. Maybe, just maybe, we'll send you a Yogi Show sticker. But thank you. Gratitude. Namaste.